Before proceeding, it is important to understand how to interpret the signals presented. These strategies are long only and based on mean reversion principles, which are generally characterized by more frequent, smaller gains and the acceptance of occasional larger losses. They are high win rate systems based on historical backtest data. However, past performance is not indicative of future results. And we will go over the backtest data later in the video. Signals will be provided based on 4 strategies titled Strategy 1, 2, 3, and 4. Trades can last anywhere from 1 day to 1 whole month, with an average trade hold time of about 5 to 6 days. The SPX 500 USD Strategy 1 and NAS 100 USD Strategy 2 signals are generated on OANDA's TradingView charts, so prices shown may differ from the futures contract price, but the signals can be applied using any futures or CFD broker. Since prices vary slightly across platforms, the key is to enter at the time the signal is issued, using the price available on your platform, not by trying to match Owanda's exact price. For instance, if a signal calls for a long entry at 6,000 Owanda chart, but the CME futures contract shows 6,010 at that moment, the correct action for a futures trader would be to enter at 6,010 or lower on the futures contract to accurately follow the signal. These signals operate without traditional stop losses, making proper position, sizing absolutely essential for risk management. For example, one might choose to maintain a fixed leverage of 2.5x. If an account had $100,000 in equity initially, and SPX 500 is trading at 6,000, a trader may aim to open a position worth approximately $250,000, 100,000 times 2.5. This would involve determining the appropriate number of futures contracts to achieve that level of exposure based on the current SPX 500 price. The Micro E-mini S and P500 futures contract, symbol MES, has a contract size of $5 multiplied by the index price. At 6,000, one Micro E-mini contract controls $30,000 of exposure, 6,000 times 5. To reach $250,000 exposure, the trader would need about 8.33 contracts, 250,000 divided by 30,000, which means opening roughly 8 or 9 Micro E-mini contracts to approximate the target position size. See the Google slides titled Position Size Calculation Examples for more examples. This scenario is provided solely as an educational illustration of one method for calculating position size. It is not financial advice. Each individual must evaluate their own risk tolerance and conduct independent research before making any investment or trading decisions. And now let's move on to the backtest history. This can be accessed by clicking the links under Full Backtest History. The Google Sheets is better suited for desktop, and the Google Slides are mobile-friendly. Here we can observe how the strategies performed in the past. We can see what position sizing was used in our backtests to yield a certain profit or loss for each trade. For example, for Strategy 1, we can see this backtest was done on SPX 500 USD. The leverage used was 2.5 times, and initial account size was 100,000. This means each individual trade was opened at a fixed amount of $250,000 of exposure. The backtest time period was May 2003 to July 2025. With these settings, the max loss on one trade was $25,437. The ending account balance was $597,035. The equity curve chart shows how the account balance was affected from each individual trade. Keep in mind that all trades were executed with a fixed position size, meaning no compounding was applied. The profit/loss chart shows the change in account balance from each individual trade. We can see the worst trade in backtest history with our settings was $25,437. Here we can see how this strategy has a high win rate and occasional larger losses. And now on to strategy 2. This backtest was done on NAS 100 USD. The leverage used was 3 times, and initial account size was $100,000. This means each individual trade was opened at a fixed amount of $300,000 of exposure. The backtest time period was July 2003, August 2025. With these settings, the max loss on one trade was $22,480. The ending account balance was $520,647. Strategies 3 and 4 generate signals from Bitcoin and Ethereum. These signals cannot be properly executed on CME futures because they can occur outside of futures market hours. However, the backtests were conducted using 1 times leverage, meaning no leverage was required during the backtests and the signals could have been executed on the spot market instead. For strategy 3, we can see that this backtest was done on BTCUSD. The leverage used was 1x and initial account size was $100,000. This means each individual trade was opened at a fixed amount of $100,000 of exposure. The backtest time period was August 2013, July 2025. With these settings, the max loss on one trade was $22,762. The ending account balance was $535,876. Lastly, let's go over strategy 4. This backtest was done on ETHUSD. The leverage used was 1x and initial account size was $100,000. This means each individual trade was opened at a fixed amount of $100,000 of exposure. The backtest time period was February 2017, July 2025. With these settings, the max loss on one trade was $29,351.14. The ending account balance was $620,807.54. Before we finish, we must reiterate the most important point of this video. The most important thing to remember is that these signals do not use traditional stop losses. Because of that, the only way to control risk is by using the right position size. These signals are meant to be interpreted, not followed blindly or traded automatically. How you choose to use them, whether in spot markets, futures, or anywhere else, is fully your own decision. Backtest results are only history, and they don't guarantee what will happen in the future. Always trade within your risk limits, size your positions carefully, and speak with a financial professional if you are unsure.